2 quick tips for making a plan for anything in your life. In order to do this, I need everybody to put a 1 up in the air and go, tip number 1, okay? Here we go on 3. 1, 2, 3. Tip number 1. Tip number 1 is to make sure that your goals are actually yours. What I mean by this, I was in an airplane, flying a plane, and I realized I was training for my private pilot's license. And I said, this isn't what I want for my life. This is what my dad and my grandpa want for my life because they were pilots before me. Make sure that your goals are actually yours. Everybody put up a 2 and go, tip number 2. Tip number 2 is to make sure that your goals are actually good. Here's how I like to describe this. It's how you hunt wolves in the tundra. Here's how it's done. You take a knife, a double-bladed knife, and dip it in seal blood, the blood of a seal. Take that knife out, freeze that layer of blood around the knife. Dip it in the blood again, pull it out, freeze a second layer around the knife. You keep doing this over and over again until basically you have a popsicle, except the stick is a double-bladed knife. So you take the handle, put it in the snow, and back off. Well, to wolves, seal blood, this is like their steak and potatoes. It's their pizza. They love it. So the wolf comes by, gives it a lick. The warmth from the wolf's mouth melts that first layer of blood. So he gives it another lick. Sooner or later, the wolf gets to that double-bladed knife. Only funny thing happens, he gets more excited by the taste of his own blood and eventually licks until he bleeds to death. Some of you guys are like, oh, that's horrible. And some of you guys are like, oh, that's awesome. Either way, don't miss the message. Because there's people that you know, probably people in this room, maybe even you yourself, doing the exact same thing. I'm not saying you're going home and opening up your drawers and licking all your knives, no. Think about what the wolf is doing. The wolf is focusing so much on the pleasure that he's getting out of that situation that he completely ignores the pain and the destruction that he's causing to himself. You don't have to raise your hands, but how many of you know somebody that's so caught up in drugs or alcohol abuse or anorexia or violence or gangs, whatever the case may be, they're destroying themselves because they're focusing so much on that pleasure and ignoring the destruction. Don't be like the wolf. Now think about this. If you know where you're going, you've picked your summits, you've geared up, you have a plan to get there, what's left? Do it. Go take action. That's where the real juice of life is. There was something that happened to me when I was in Colorado and I was struck by lightning. I'd like to tell you guys that story right now. So I'm going to take this whole audience, and no longer are we going to be in the Classic Center here. If we can get some house lights too, that'd be awesome. We're going to be on top of a mountain called Mount Columbia in Colorado. And you guys on the top 2 floors, I'll be back with you in a second. But I'm with a student of mine. His name is Jason, and we're on top of this mountain. He has a case of what's called altitude sickness. And in case you don't know, altitude sickness is when your brain doesn't get enough oxygen, so it starts to swell up. Well, the problem when your brain swells up is that you have a skull in the way, and it causes all sorts of funky things to happen. We're trying to get down, lightning strikes. I start counting the seconds to see how far away the lightning is. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. It's about half a mile away. All Jason is doing is walking back and forth and moaning. He's just doing this. I'm like, Jason, you gotta move. He's like, I am. That's all. Lightning strikes again. 1 1,000, 2 1,000. It's getting closer. To give you an idea of what altitude sickness does, my friend Tyson had a case of it, and he hallucinated. He saw a school bus full of monsters driving vertically up a cliff. It messes with your head. There's been famous climbers in the world, and say there's a cliff right here, they'll say to their climbing buddies, hey guys, look, there's a rainbow bridge that takes us all the way down to the ground. They just walk off the cliff. Jason has a mild case of this. Lightning strikes again. 1 1,000. Biggest one yet. I'm like, I have to do whatever it takes to get Jason down the mountain. So I kick Jason. And all of a sudden he's like, I'm like, sweet, at least he's going. I'm like, go, Jason, go, dude, you gotta move. And he's like, I'm like, whatever, at least he's going. I get him like 100, 200 feet in front of me. I'm still running after him. I'm like, go, Jason, go, dude. You gotta move, man, hurry. And the only way I can describe it is these purple bubbles started popping everywhere, huge, like Rice Krispies on heroin, going nuts all over the place. I'm in the middle of a step on my right foot. Lightning goes into the ground about 20 feet away from me, surges through the ground, into my rubber boot, through my rubber boot, into my leg, instantly sears all the hair right off my leg, knocks me off onto my other foot. Well, I'm still just thinking, get to Jason, help Jason. So now I'm like, go, Jason, go, dude! Move, man, you gotta hurry, go! I catch up to Jason, and I'm like, Jason, you okay, man? Did you get hit by lightning? What happened? He's like, I go, did you get hit? Okay, tell me the story. What happened? He's like, you were like, and I was like, Then all of a sudden, the hair on my arm sort of stood up. Like, that's it? Your hair stood up? See, all he got was a static electricity charge. Just like if you took a balloon, rubbed it on your hair. Me, I got my whole leg fried because I didn't stick to one thing. And that's a time requirement. I told the whole group, I don't care where you are, but if at noon you're not on top of the mountain, we're turning around and we're going back. Well, noon comes along. It's only Jason and I who are on top of this mountain. Look up. It's blue skies. Beautiful. Let's just wait for everybody else to get up. We spent another hour, hour and a half on top of this mountain waiting for the rest of the 12 or 13 people that were with our group to get to the top. They were able to get back and go straight back down, but because Jason and I spent all that time up at the high altitude, we were the last ones, and he couldn't move. He got altitude sickness. Completely my fault. So I started asking myself, how can I be sure that something like that never happens again, and that I get what the actual objective is that I'm going for in life? And I came up with this formula. Call it John's formula. It's this. Drive plus skills plus time equals success. If you have the drive, the absolute ferocity to go after whatever it is that you're going for, that no one can tell you no, that's the first part. Then if you have the right skill set, you train, you type until your fingers bleed, you learn every skill there is in that subject. And finally, you give yourself a deadline, a time requirement of when you absolutely reach your goal. You'll succeed. Is that something you guys can use for your own selves and your own life? Say, heck yeah! Great, then we need to shift gears real quick, and we already recognized them when they all stood up, but as a speaker, the best compliment that I can give or receive is a standing ovation. And the people that really make this whole event possible are your advisors and the ones that, or the adult that brought you here. So do this. Let's give them the craziest, wildest standing ovation you've ever given in your life. 1, 2, 3, go! Nice. Genuinely do thank them in person because they make everything that you do in FBLA possible. The next thing, I absolutely love what I do. And I wrote a book and it's called Climb On, Success Strategies for Teens. And it's a story of a girl that learns how to rock climb in Las Vegas. Would anybody like a free copy of this book? Whoever can show me they're most excited to get this free copy will get this free copy. Oh, would anybody else like a copy of the book? That's awesome. They'll be for sale in the back. Here's the deal. They retail for $15. If you guys like, I'll give you a copy of the book for $10. Is that a deal or is that a deal? I didn't quite get that's enough, that's a deal, so here's what I'll do. If you team up with 2 other people, so there's 3 of you, I'm impressed by the effort, but not quite there. If you team up with 2 other people, or if you're an advisor and you'd like to get some copies for your students, I'll give you guys 3 of them for $20. Is that a deal or is that a deal? Cool. I'd be happy to sign them, and I'll take any pictures with anybody you like. I'll stay here till midnight taking pictures if you like. Now listen, I didn't finish that story from the very beginning. When I'm hanging there, convinced I'm about to die, my fingertips are all still covered in blood. There's a move in the climbing world called a dyno. And in case you don't know, a dyno is when you literally throw yourself up off the cliff, come completely off the rock, fly through the air, and using whatever you can, you grab on. It's extremely dangerous, but it's a good way to get an extra 2 or 3 feet. And I knew that was what I needed to do. So I started countdown. 3, life or death decision for 2 people. 2, hope this works out. 1, with every bit of force and effort I could possibly muster up, I launch myself up off that cliff. I'm flying through the air. Take my hand, stick it on the rock like the jaws of a Burmese tiger. Take a clip off my harness, send it through the bolt, take my rope right through the clip. And I was safe. I made it. I lived out my adventure for that day. But like I said, what I truly care about is that you find your own adventure for your own life. So pick your summits, gear up, and climb on. Thanks a lot, everybody. I truly appreciate you and your time. Thank you very much.
Who's been struck by lightning, attacked by a 5-foot iguana, been caught in a negative 40-degree blizzard, and he did once played the hokey pokey in the eye of a hurricane. John's true stories have been featured on television, radio, and websites across the globe. You're about to meet a man that believes that life is meant to be an adventure. You could say an anything but ordinary adventure. His message tonight is based on the success strategies in his great new book, Climb On, Success Strategies for Teams. He has explored the world, including Arizona, and as you'll soon see, he's anything but ordinary. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the climber guy, John Beatty.
Hello, my name is John Beatty. I'm 26 years old and I'm a rock climber from Las Vegas. I want to start today by asking you guys 3 questions. Question number 1, how many of you guys would like to leave here today with more money in your wallet, pocket, or purse when you came in? Put up your right hand and say, climb on! Question number 2, how many of you guys would like to leave here today better looking, more attractive, and more sexy than when you came in? Put up your left hand and say, climb on! Question number 3, how many of you guys would like to have a good time between now and when we're done? In just a short amount of time, everybody put up both hands and say, climb on! And everybody say, good news! The good news is that you're in the right place at the right time, because today I'm going to show you how you can have a whole lot of fun, great success, and great relationships in your entire life. Everybody do this. Tap the person's shoulder on the right side next to you and say, you lucky to be sitting next to me. Tap the person's shoulder on the other side and say, no, you lucky to be sitting next to me. Everybody please clap once. Clap twice. The truth of the matter is that I am lucky to be standing in front of all of you. Not only because I know that you guys are cool people, but because there was a time in my life when I'm convinced I'm about to die. My fingertips are all chapped and cracked, covered in blood. My arms are twitching from lactic acid buildup. This bead of sweat forms on my forehead, dribbles down to my nose, hangs there for just a second, then it falls and falls and falls 250 feet to the ground below me. I'm rock climbing in central Washington State, and the only thing stopping me, my whole body, from slamming into the granite rocks below me is 250 feet of air. And if you were there, you'd see that I have a harness, and it's tied to my climbing partner, Greg. He's about from me to, what is your name right here? Yeah. Rally? Valerie. It's about from me to Valerie. So I'm tied to Greg or Valerie, and Valerie or Greg is tied to me, but Greg's not tied to anything else. So if I fall, who falls as well? Greg or Valerie or whatever you want to call her, right? And about 2 minutes earlier, we're both sitting on a ledge. It's about the size of one of the chairs that you're in right now. And we're mashed up against each other like this. And I say to him, I'm like, Greg, just let me climb out to that first bolt. If I can get to that, we'll be fine. He says, no, you got to put in some gear, some protection here in case something goes wrong. You'll be okay. I say, don't worry about it. We've been climbing all day. It's not a problem. And I started to traverse out without his permission. And at first, the climb was easy. But then it got steeper and steeper and sharper and sharper. And it gets to a spot where the rubber on my shoes is being cut off and falling to the ground below me. That's why my fingertips are all covered in blood. And I get to a spot that's bare. It's bald as Mr. Clean's head. There is nowhere to go. And I look over to Greg and I go, Greg, I'm gonna fall! He goes, don't. I go, I can't help it, I'm gonna go. And he says 2 words that would change my life. In fact, they ended up becoming the title of the very first book that I ever wrote. He looks me square in the eye and he says, John, climb on. And those 2 words, climb on, they may never save your life, but they can make it a whole lot better. Because today I'm going to show you how you can get anything that you want out of your life. If that sounds good to you, you'd like to learn how you can get anything you want, let me hear you say, hoo-ha! Hoo-ha! Come on, put some power on it, hoo-ha! Hoo-ha! That's what I'm talking about. In your grades, your sports, relationships, in FBLA, PBL, I'm going to show you how you can get anything that you want. If that sounds good to you, tap the person in front of you and say, ooh, I want that. Now turn around and say to the person behind you, yeah, me too. In fact, if you take everything I'm going to show you today, you put it to use, and if it does not work for you, I'll give you $100 cash. Now, is that a deal or is that a deal? Everybody say, that's a deal. That is a good deal. Then I need 2 volunteers to come up on stage to help me out. I need a guy and a girl. They're going to come up. How about this guy in the black right here? Yeah. I need a girl as well. I need a girl. How about right there in the white black coat around you? Yeah, right there. All right, give these guys a round of applause as they come up. All right, now I need to make sure that you guys in the audience can hear them. So I'm going to ask their name. Once they say their name, if you can hear them, do me a favor, just clap once, okay? What is your name? Sam. We've got Sam. Would you come stand over here for me? Same thing, I'm going to ask your name. If you guys in the audience can hear, just clap once. What is your name?
Talana.
All right, we've got Sam and Talana. Now what's going to happen, before a bunch of you came in, I had a whole bunch of you write down your favorite movie quotes on these note cards right here. If you didn't write down your favorite movie quote, don't worry about it. Just know that there's a bunch of movie quotes on these cards right here. So, what's going to happen is, what's your name? Talana, that's right, it was a weird one. Talana, we're going to pretend. It's a good name. Talana, we're going to pretend, is my daughter, okay? Sam. Sam, you dog, you. Sam, we're going to say, has a crush on Talana, okay? Everybody go, aww. So what's going to happen? Sam is going to come over to Talana and my house, and he's going to try and ask her out on a date through me. Except that the catch is the only words that both of them are allowed to say while they're up here. The only sentences they're allowed to speak in are the movie quotes that you guys wrote down on these note cards. So I'm going to take this whole stack from here, I'm going to shuffle them up so they're in no particular order. I'm going to give half the stack there to Sam. I'm going to give half the stack to Talana. And Sam, you don't need to try and make these make sense, okay? Just take a few steps back over here. And Talana, you don't have to, go through, you can just go one by one in order, okay? So Sam, whenever you're ready, come on over, knock on the door, and we'll see how this turns out. Oh, hey, you must be Sam.
Show me the money.
That's an interesting way to start off a conversation with the girl's father, wouldn't you say?
It ain't over till it's over.
Alright, Talana, I don't know anything about this guy here, so why don't you tell me, what is your favorite quality about Sam?
Tina, you fat lard, come get your dinner.
Oh, so she wants to go out to dinner with you, I guess. Alright. So, I love my daughter here very much. When you first saw her, what was the first thing that went through your mind?
This is Sparta.
Guy with some strength, I appreciate that. Valor, yeah. All right, you can come on in, by the way, Sam. You can come on in. So, Talana, I mean, I don't know anything about this guy here, so why don't you tell me a little bit about him?
I'm the king of the world.
I think you'd be the queen, but alright. So he's gonna take you out tonight, and you guys are gonna go, I don't know what you're gonna do, but what would your most ideal date be? What would you most want to do?
Dude, where's my car?
Go for a drive in the car, okay. So, Sam, I don't know what you guys are gonna do. Why don't you tell me, what is the plan tonight? What are you guys gonna go do?
Get her done.
So that brings up another very important point, I guess. You know, Sam, I'm very protective of my daughter here. So would you ever put the moves on a girl on the first date?
I see dead people.
Not entirely sure what that means, so Talana, if he were to try and kiss you tonight, what would be your response?
It's Bond. James Bond.
Alright, I'm going to take both of you guys' pictures, so Talana, would you come over here and stand next to Sam for me? And whenever I have my picture taken, I always say cheese. Talana, what do you say when you have your picture taken?
Cheese. Your voice is a combination of Fergie and Jesus.
How about you, Sam? What do you say?
Go ahead, make my day.
Alright, why don't you guys both look at the camera here and say, go ahead and make my day, okay? 1, 2, 3.
Go ahead, make my day.
That was a good one. Alright, anything else before you go?
I'll be back.
And how about you?
Just sleep swimming.
Give these guys a round of applause and thank you for coming out. And in order to thank them for coming up, I'm going to give them each a free copy of my book. It's called Climb On, Success Strategies for Teens. And if you guys like, I'll sign it for you over there, okay? After I'm done. Give them another round of applause. Now that was just a goofy little game to get things started, but you could kind of see that when they were up here, they were a little bit frustrated because they had that movie quote telling them what to do, what to say, how to act every minute that they were up here. What if your whole life was like that, and it was a script, and you had somebody telling you what to do, what to say, how to act every second of your life? You'd be pretty frustrated, wouldn't you? So it's my job here today to show you how to make your own life into your own script, your own adventure that you live and you absolutely love. But you know what else I like about the movies? I like that guy from the previews with that super deep voice he's got. You know that guy from the previews, like, from the people that brought you Titanic. You know that guy, like, no matter what he's talking about, he's always going to use the deep voice, like, Barney meets the Teletubbies. Could you see this guy, like, going through puberty? His voice cracking and everything, he's going up to girls like, hey baby, how you doing? Excuse me. It's just that I think you're real cute. Oh. I was hoping one day we could go out on a date. Because that would make me happy. And then after his voice cracks, he's doomed for the movie business, you know? He couldn't do anything else. He couldn't be a farmer. The cows think that he's one of them, like, move, Betsy, move. Cows like, what the heck's going on? Couldn't be a taxi cab driver, but that just freak you out. You get in the taxi with him, he's like, hey, where am I taking you today? That creepy man, I'm getting the next cab. What if he was a teacher at your school? Comes up to you and he's like, nice job, Bobby. Have some candy. He'd be like, I'm gonna transfer, this is awkward. You see, we go to the movies because we see these people on screen that have action, adventure, romance, comedy in their lives. And these are the exact same things that we want for ourselves. It's like it's written into our soul that each moment is supposed to have an amazing new adventure, and each second is supposed to have an incredible new surprise. That's why I go rock climbing, because for me, that's my life adventure. For you, it doesn't make a huge difference to me if you ever go climbing or not. What I really care about is that you find your own adventure for your own life, and you make your life anything but ordinary. So I created what I like to call the Climb On Success Formula, and it's something that's easy that anybody can put to use. Because I believe that life is very difficult. If you agree with that, say yes. And I believe that life can be very complicated. If you agree with that, say yeah. And I believe that life can be very confusing. If you agree with that, say heck yeah. So if life is difficult and confusing and complicated, then what we need is a solution that's easy that anybody can put to use. If that makes sense to you, say climb on. I'm going to give you guys the climb on success formula, but before I can, anywhere I go, all over the country and give this kind of speech, it always happens, the ladies always want to make some noise. So now is your chance, your opportunity. Go ahead, ladies, make some noise. Where are you at? Ladies, would you like a secret about men, about guys? Here it is, guys, raise your hand. How many guys here play video games like Halo, any like Tony Hawk's, like World of Warcraft, guys? Here's the secret about us men. When we've got that controller, the paddle, we're not just watching the Master Chief blow up the Covenant armies, oh no. For us, it's so much bigger than the graphics or the sound, because when we've got that controller, we are the Master Chief. That's us living out the adventure that we see on the screen. Wouldn't that be cool though? If you were in a video game, like if you were Mario and you could just jump on somebody and they disappear? That'd be the best. Your teacher comes in, she's like, class, you got a test coming up this Thursday. You'd be like, oh yeah? Test that, haha! Where'd you go? Your mom comes in, she's like, honey, it's time to clean up your clothes, don't you think? Don't make me jump on you, woman. I'll do it. You see, us